Social media le bad. This isn't a brave or a contrarian take. Every Twitter user calls Twitter a cesspool just to log on 5 minutes later and furiously argue a topic that isn't even political, but somehow will turn into an ideological debate about communism and capitalism. This isn't necessarily an issue when all parties involved understand the facts revolving around said issue and have reached their conclusion based on those inarguable objective facts. However, the current social media landscape rewards the peddling and the grift of misinformation and conclusions based on general vibes. The current social media landscape makes it really difficult for people who have different political views to maintain friendships, because people can have huge political differences and still maintain those friendships as long as the differences come from the same facts and differences in the conclusion that you draw. Social media links everyone around the world to each other at any given time, and when you have a shared political leaning with a huge group of people, it's easy to, one, only talk to those people that you agree with, and two, it's very easy to take on their views. This isn't, again, necessarily a bad thing, but young, impressionable teens on both the left and the right are pushed into extremism, which is bad no matter what side it's on. I'm a left-leaning person, and as a left-leaning person, it's very easy to fall into line with whatever the progressive left ideology is. I say this because there's one issue that's very important to the left, and truthfully to me, and that's Israel-Palestine. And this is where the problem with left extremism really became clear to me. Left extremism isn't you. Terms like feminazi and social justice warrior have existed almost as long as the internet, but that's the thing. It was extremist. When it comes to Israel-Palestine, all the phrasing is extremist. The best example I have of this is the continued idea that Zionism was a colonial project by Great Britain. This is just factually wrong and ignores the historical context regarding the mass exodus of Jews from Europe and the Middle East. This isn't fair and it's dangerous, and it puts all of the blame on the Jews. Guess who else put all of the blame on the Jews? And this isn't just dangerous online. The Anti-Defamation League Center for Extremism found more than 10,000 incidents in the US from the 7th of October 2023 to the 24th of September of 2024. A 200% increase compared to the same period a year earlier. And the Community Security Trust in the UK recorded reports of almost 2,000 anti-Jewish hate incidences, up from under 1,000 in the first half of 2023. And they themselves attribute the record high total of anti-Semitic hate to the anti-Semitic reactions to the October 7th attack in Israel and the ongoing war. And this is sort of the issue. Extremism used to stand out. The ideology behind extremist thinking used to be a notable aspect of a person's character, but now it feels like extremism is the standard. The biggest political streamer on Twitch, Hassan Arbi, for example, I made a video, go check it out, in the little eye up here, little eye. But Hassan could somehow justify his use of ethnic slurs against Jewish people. This isn't progressive and it isn't left. It's dangerous and there's no accountability. And the worst part about all of this is that currently the political right is full of liars, felons, bigots and billionaires. But none of that matters because the so-called progressive party can't even realise when it's being regressive. And honestly, the extremist Jew-hating Russia lovers need to be expelled from the left everywhere the left exists. Because spoiler alert, it's not progressive to be a dick. And so I'm going to offer a new perspective from the left that's reasonable. Ready? Here we go. Israel has a right to defend itself. The region as a whole has been in conflict longer than most people commentating on it have been alive, and there's realities that we all need to come to terms with. Palestinians want to fight, and they want to fight because they've been told for decades that they have a just cause, and that the Arab states will help them expel Israel. But Israel isn't going anywhere. It's a nuclear power. They don't just disappear. But Israel being a state means that when it expands its territory illegally, there's no Palestinian power in challenging that. And the power imbalance caused by the occupation has created an apartheid-like state. Not an apartheid state, but an apartheid-like state. However, Israel has been fighting in and out of state terrorism since its inception, and despite this being waved away by the left, it's an important aspect in analysing the conflict as a whole. Looking at the conflict from October 7th is stupid. The true end goal should be a two-state solution, but for that to happen, Israel would have to feel safe, and realistically that would most likely involve at least a period of another one-state solution. We know one-state solution would work. It did work. It worked for a while. There was still terrorism, there was still all of that. That is what Israel will return to. And at that point, it is on the left not to forget about the plight of the Palestinians, but to remind the world and to remind Israel, hey, maybe these guys deserve their own state now. It is not and has never been the job of the left to try and call out an ethnic race of people for genocidal intent and to claim that every Zionist, which is just a person who believes Israel or the Jews as a whole should have their own state, which is Israel. I would have been a Zionist in 1948. I am a Zionist now. Maybe I wouldn't have agreed with where they were putting it, but that's beside the point. Zionism isn't something inherent to being Jewish. I believe the Jews deserve their own state. I believe the Jews should be safe from persecution in their own country. There are many non-Jewish Zionists that exist. It is not inherently Jewish to believe in the Israeli cause. But to claim every Zionist is a warmonger and a bloodthirsty quote-unquote vile to use that slur, vile. And the left and the right are so distant from what they used to be. It used to be that if you were on the right, you would be a supporter of small government and you would think that regulations were not the way to go. But you would still acknowledge when someone was wronged and you would fix it. And in the left, you would say the government needs to step in, there needs to be more regulations to protect against this, and the government would step in. But now the difference between the left and the right is that the right believes that Donald Trump didn't cause an insurrection and the left hates Jews. And that's such a horrible time to be alive in. But then again, I guess everybody who's ever been alive has said that their political landscape is the worst it's ever been. So maybe it's all just in my head. But yeah, with that, I'm just going to leave it there. Adios.